So in terms of the program itself, we covered a lot of content. This is actually a screenshot of a live session. Remember, it was 200 Haitian citizens that we selected for the program. On average, about 110 to 180 or 150 join the sessions every single week consistently. Despite Wi-Fi connectivity issues or NG connectivity issues, they were very consistent every single week with joining the sessions live for the training. And so with that, some of the content that we shared with them for the program was one, basic professionalism. So if you're getting emails for them that's not up to par, keep us posted on that, because we taught them how to create professional email addresses. So I'm sure many of you guys remember your first email, hot9927 or cutesy batsy. That's not going to cut it. We made it very clear to them: have a professional email with your first and last name at Gmail, or whatever way, if that's taken, maybe hello Christine at gmail.com. Keep it very professional. We also taught them about email signatures. We taught them how to update their social media profiles. So for example, many of them you'll find this week will update their LinkedIn profile with your company, and the title being that they're interns. So you could check their LinkedIn profile to make sure that they're updating that. Not only does it add visibility to you guys to showcase that you're onboarding interns to your company, but for them to up their career resume publicly, so that way people know that they're working with your organization. So this is some of the content that we taught them about email signatures. We even reprimanded a couple of them on certain emails that they had. So we kind of embarrassed a couple of them and said, like, this is the email that you use to apply for this program. Like, how can we improve this? So the very basics of professionalism and presentation. We talked to them about how to update their banners and photos on LinkedIn, on Facebook as well. Even though Facebook is more personal for their family and friends, we taught them how to build their personal brands on these platforms, so that way it looks professional. We don't want any of these interns to work for you and it's an embarrassment to you if they have, let's say, a random photo on their headboard and you're saying that this person works for you as an intern. We don't want that visibility to be negative on your reputation as a company. So these are the small things that we showed them in terms of making sure that they have a professional presentation. Like if someone Googles their name online or look them up, we have a clear visual that shows professionalism in every shape and sense. So this is something that we taught them the first week. We show them how to grow their LinkedIn network through their email contacts. We show them a couple of hacks. And then of course, you know, we went over personality tests. So this is something you're welcome to extend to your staff, but we actually gave each one of the accelerators and interns that you're working with free personality tests. So that way they can know, how do they work with other individuals, right? Do they have the right personality? Do they mesh well with certain people? Because they might be able to do the work, but maybe they have a personality that they're introverted. Maybe they, you know, they like to be more collaborative. Maybe they want to be more expressive. You know, these are small things that we highly suggest that you don't need to tell them to do. They already done it, so they're aware of it. But maybe extending this personality test to members of your staff, so that way they recognize their personalities in training or managing your interns at your company. So this is something that we did with them, and it was very, very enlightening. I know many of them were emotional to find, like, wow, if I have known this sooner, it would have helped me in my career a lot sooner. So personality test was a big part of the training component. And this is the site that we use for free. Of course, these personality tests could cost anywhere from $75 and up, but 16personalities.com is free. And you're welcome to leverage that for your staff as well if you would like to leverage that. And it's a really great tool to let them know who they're working with. Of course, we also taught them how to find opportunities, resume basics, and how to really get their portfolios live and running. That's the reason why many of you did not receive a resume. You received a portfolio and a pitch video. We did that on purpose because we wanted to bring their personalities to life and go beyond the boring resume and give you a visual portfolio and a visual pitch video to hear them, to get to know their personalities a little bit. hopefully you found that useful. Definitely give us any positive or negative feedback on whether that was helpful if you prefer a resume instead of the portfolio going forward, because we thought that that might help in helping you select the right interns for your company. So that was the bootcamp part 4 that we covered. And of course, we actually taught them how to create a website, to create a digital portfolio for free, right? So that way, even if you don't have any funds, how to create a website on WordPress to create a digital portfolio. So some of them didn't give you a PDF portfolio, they had a website link as well. So these are some of the things that we prepared them for. In terms of the pitch video, we trained them on video pitching and expressing 4 basic things: their skill sets, their hobbies, their call to action. So I think you could remember the format of the pitch video. This is what we went over with them. And Daphne was really good at going through all the videos to match them appropriately with the right companies, because based on their personality and what they said and their strengths, we were able to match them according to what you requested in the application form. Okay. And finally, of course, we talked about looking at this internship as a path to building their careers. We don't want them to look at every job as a mechanical administrative thing. We want them to be excited about every job opportunity that they get to grow their career, to grow their development. So we took a big leap of really making sure that we gave them the right understanding around negotiation, how to talk about what expectation they should do the first day, the first month, the first quarter. I know Natalie actually did a session about that, your first 30 days, your first 60 days, and your first 90 days at a company, because you as a company obviously have your own expectations, but it's important that they also express that information to you as well. So we taught them these things, and then we ended on more of an inspirational culmination where we talked about, how to really engage their careers, how to be able to really plan out what they really desire based on their skill sets. So we talked about, remote work and the like. We at GSC, we do training every single month on the future of work. We have hours and hours of training that we do with consultants, with governments, with big corporates, that, we do customized training for companies. And we kind of tend to talk around automation, development skills, flexible work, like what training is needed of your staff members in your company to be prepared for these trends that are inevitable. They're coming, they're already happening. We're living the biggest global experiment of our lifetime, where the entire world had to go remote online at the same time simultaneously. So it didn't matter whether you were from a poor country, a rich country, a First Nation, a third party nation, wherever you were, this was your reality. And so everyone had to go through this experiment at the same time. So for us, it's really understanding what is the future of work. And a lot of people are coming to the consensus that after this pandemic, the new normal is not going to go back to going to the office space and going to how things used to be. The reality is many of the components of this existence is here to stay. Now, of course, next week you can have some debates with us as to what you're seeing in your ecosystem, but we work with corporate partners and governments from around the world, and we're getting the same statistical data, not only through what they're saying, but also what they're doing live as well. So this is something that to really consider about, this might be a great pilot for you as a company to think about what would a remote staff look like for your company, just in general. Some of you have already been remote before, at least for the startup partners on this ecosystem platform. But it's important that we're all clear on the vision and the expectation as to what the future will look like, even for Haiti, right? So that way we're all on the same page. And we always talk about the history of, the future of work, where we as a society, we all know that we started out from factories, right, to cubicles, right? Then once we started, advancing beyond the Industrial Revolution, then we started getting to the tech revolution. Cubicles was the way to have, business and corporate buildings. And then, this Wi-Fi, acceleration with the dot-com boom in 2000 accelerated a whole era of co-working spaces. Now the space is all about the 6 feet of space that you have within your home. So now you're seeing an entire ecosystem built on whether you have three things: Wi-Fi, connections, and content. Like, what do you have to offer the world, and do you have the resources to make that happen? So this is a reality that's happening. And so for us, usually what we ask companies like yours is, do you have the remote work audit checklist complete? Are you prepared to really have remote workers at your company? Do you have a remote robust company for this time period? And leverage the interns not only for remote activities, but also to really prepare your company to go remote maybe in the future, right? So requirements, capacity, and environment, we'll talk about that. Resources, some resources to have available to your future interns or staff that we put into 10 buckets and categories that we'll share with you shortly. And the routine, some of the routine changes that you have to expect of your employers during this pandemic or post this pandemic to really feel like you're fully prepared for this transition. So let's start with the requirements. So one thing that we tell the interns before they start their job is to have an expectation of these soft skills. Like right now, I think more employers are hiring people for these soft skills than more so the hard skills, because it's extremely important that people have good time management skills, are proactive. You can't keep harassing people with follow-ups. I'm not sure if you guys sense this, but it becomes a burden when you have to be the one following up with an intern or a staff member every hour. What's the update? Did you finish? Getting people to be more proactive with their communication. Like, hey, I finished the first milestone. What are the next steps? Can you review? So having this strong team player mentality and workaround, and not always thinking of like there's a problem, but thinking of more solutions, right? And so with that said, these are the 10 categories of resources. And again, we'll go over this in depth next week, Monday. But these are some of the expectations that we hope that your company has at their arsenal to prepare not only your interns, but yourself, right? Do you have the right productivity tools, right? So obviously people have like a clock, but rescue time, making sure that you could tell the interns, use rescuetime.com, so that way they're not always on Facebook and LinkedIn while they're simultaneously working. Because when they were at the job facilities, someone could pass by and see that they're on Facebook and tell them to log off, right? But when you're at home, everything is a mashup. So how do you block yourself and discipline yourself? These are some of the productivity tools they need to consider. Administrative dashboards. We all know that many of you probably have spreadsheets on all your passwords, but are you using automation tools like Zapier, so that way you don't have to enter any database? Everything is being done remotely, where anytime someone registers for your Eventbrite event, they automatically go into your database. These are the tools that you need. Your HR and legal. We always say for communication, and again, I'm just speeding through this a little bit because I want to have time for questions, but we'll go over this in depth next week. Really, there are 3 communication layouts that's very important. You need a communication for booking meetings. Some of you use Google Calendar, some of you use Calendly, right? You need a communication tool for hosting the meeting. That could be Zoom, Google Hangout, and Skype. And we highly suggest that you stick to one. I know some of you have said that you might use multiple options depending on the person that you're onboarding, but use a common denominator. If everyone has Google Hangout, use Google Hangout. If everyone can get on Zoom, use Zoom, because it creates a consistency where the person is getting better skilled at using that platform because they're using it almost every single day, right? And of course, communication to coordinate conversation. Slack is one of our favorites. Facebook Workplace is another big one. And any cloud-based collaboration tool is important. And obviously project management, monday.com. I'm not sure what you guys have for CRM system, but these are all the resources that we always tell companies to make sure that they have at their arsenal to manage the interns during the program. So hopefully this is stuff that either you guys are already aware of, but just to reiterate, that these are the 10 categories that we tend the interns to leverage during the internship with you, and hope that companies like yourself are already aware of these things. And of course, the last thing is making sure that they have the right work routine, learn routine, and health routine. Because when you're working from home, obviously you have to have the right learning routine. They have to be able to absorb information very well. These are some of the top skills that we told them to acquire during this program and while working for you. So project management, social media marketing, email marketing, if you notice, these are all the skill sets that you guys requested on your application for these interns, right? So making sure that they have the right way to balance all that and keep that connected. So this is culminates this session on some of the remote work conversations that we've had with the interns. But just to recap, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page of understanding the history around remote work, the reality of what we're in right now, the career expectations of soft skills and hard skills that we train the interns on and that we continuously coach them on. We actually have a session with them immediately after this call because we have weekly sessions with the interns and the cohort on their experience with all of you, right? And some of the requirements and resources that they need to be successful, right? So I'll stop here